Since its public release at the end of 2022, ChatGPT has experienced rapid growth and widespread adoption. Its role in education, however, remains a topic of contention. As an AI language model, ChatGPT can help students with their assignments, research, and studying. Faculty can use it to create chatbots for academic and administrative purposes. However, using ChatGPT or any other AI-powered language model to complete assignments without critical thinking may lead to surface-level understanding, plagiarism, and low-quality work. How can ChatGPT be used in education, and how does it affect our future workplace? In a recent seminar organized by Hong Kong Metropolitan University's Office for Advancement of Learning and Teaching, or ALTO, a panel of distinguished guests was invited to discuss the application of AI and ChatGPT for higher education. It was facilitated by Professor Ricky Kwok, Vice President for Research and Student Development at HKMU. Our guest experts included Mr. Fred Sheu, National Technology Officer at Microsoft Hong Kong, Dr. Sean McMinn, Director of the Center for Education Innovation at Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, Professor Janet Wong, Dean of the School of Nursing and Health Studies at HKMU, and Dr. Kevin Hung, Head of Electronic Engineering and Computer Science in the School of Science and Technology at HKMU.
I'd like to thank our two special guests today, Fred and Sean, for taking their time out today to share their wisdoms with us. Of course, I also want to thank my colleagues, Janet and Kevin, who are always on the cutting edge of technologies to share their insights as well. We have so many interesting points to unpack, so let me just go right into the questions. But I want to also mention that the format of this panel would be, we have a bunch of questions from me asking the panel members first, but then I will leave around 15 minutes towards the end to allow you guys to ask your questions to this group of experts. Specifically, I want to know from you guys, what do you think the future workplace will look like? Because no offense, Microsoft ChatGPT is not the only one in town. Right? We also have Alibaba having a big language model, Baidu also have a big language model, Midjourney, there are a bunch of tools floating around. So I envision in the future the workplace will have all these kind of tools proliferating alongside with human beings. So I just want to know more from you guys what the workplace will look like for our students when they graduate. But before Fred take us through his insights, maybe we can watch a very quick video to better inform the questions. Video, please.
Let's say you're getting ready for your customer pitch meeting. Everyone has had a moment when they wish they could turn their proposal into a customer-ready presentation without having to start from scratch. Now you can. Using just your own words, Copilot can translate Word into PowerPoint. You can also translate PowerPoint into Word. Now you have a professional-looking presentation that you can hone and polish. Let's say you want to add a slide. Give Copilot some quick instructions. There it goes, ready for you to review. So this slide is too wordy. Let's ask Copilot to make it more visual. Give it a few seconds. And check this out. Copilot can even animate the slide. It gives it a professional design treatment in a single click. But it doesn't stop there. Copilot even generates speaker notes for all your slides. It's not only a time saver, it's helping you be a better presenter.
Okay, so Fred, share your wisdoms.
Yeah, I think some disclaimer, this product is not really generally available yet. We announced this product last month, and I don't know when it's become available. I really want to use this technology, so I don't really have to spend a lot of time on my PowerPoint. But get back to your question about future work. I think the future work will be we pretty much rely on a lot of technology, especially AI technology. But as a matter of fact, I mean, AI been helping us to do our work is not new, right? So we all have like virtual agents, all this kind of technology help me. But with this like, I would say, a new technology with generative AI, we call it. I think the opportunity is tremendous. Almost every office tools, if you like, will be embedded with this kind of technology, whether it's Microsoft or third party. I think they will take advantage of this kind of like a generative AI and embed into the product they use. I think good thing is like as a user of technology, we'll find this product that we're using on our day-to-day basis much easier. I think the reason Microsoft leveraged this, well, I talk about the partnership with OpenAI if I got time. Since we formed the strategic partnership with OpenAI, we actually include this technology or the services into our cloud service offering. That's step one. Step two is that kind of infuse this generative AI or OpenAI models into our product, including like a Microsoft 365. So I think with this product integration, our customer or the future work will look something like this.
So it sounds like we don't need any more junior PowerPoint designers, junior programmers, junior lawyers. So all the juniors will be gone. Sean, do you agree with that?
Yes, in part, I do. Yeah. I think a lot of these tasks will be able to be automated in the future. Companies like Bloomberg, I know, they're integrating AI into their tools as well. So we're going to see this across industries. Higher education eventually will have to adopt some of these tools if we want to stay competitive with commercial entities that are providing professional development training. And the commercial entities will integrate it if we don't first. Yeah.
I totally agree.
So Janet, do we still have junior healthcare workers around, or would that be replaced by AI?
Well, I think for most of different kinds of disciplines, I think nursing or healthcare discipline will be quite safe, I would say. Well, honestly, AI in healthcare is not new. It's not really like a recent topic. We realize that AI has been used in like the radiology department. They have a lot of like AI interpretation. And also when we are trying to read some of the papers, especially the healthcare or some medical papers, we realize that AI has been used for data analysis and especially for predicting diseases. So AI have been used in healthcare discipline, but especially for nursing, I think because we really need human touch. Patients are very interesting. When they tell you about something or some of the symptoms, it doesn't mean that it is just only that kind of symptoms. We really need to have active listening. So we have to listen, not only just what they said, but also their nonverbal cues or other things that may not be replaced by AI. So I think healthcare is quite safe.
So I think there's an insight there. For physical labor, it's still quite safe, but cognitive labor might be a little bit more dangerous. So what do you think, Kevin? Should we do away with the computer science degree altogether?
I think the question is in the future what the workplace will be. I think for IT industry, for cybersecurity, we are already in the future. We are actually getting feedback from employers, from our students that they are actually already working with AI. For example, in computer science, when they're in company, they don't really do the coding line by line now. They just put in the requirements and ChatGPT or other AI tools just do it for them. For cybersecurity, now they can work on more projects with less people. So they use AI to find vulnerabilities and detect threats. So actually it's really happening right now. What they're trying to do is to manage more projects and have the people to work on higher level thinking. Move on to getting in more projects with more profits and with less people.
Okay, thank you very much. That brings me to my next question, very naturally, is about what we call AI divide. In the past, we have digital divide. Now we have AI divide. Those who have and have not. For the have, that means they have the literacy to work alongside AI, to make good use of AI. but for the have-nots, they don't have that skills to better work with AIs. So my question to you guys is, what would be the situations for those have-nots? How would they survive, basically? Fred?
Pick up the skill. Yeah, I truly believe that AI or this technology become I would say common skill, like a language skill, right? And moving forward, it's not just people study computer science, need to understand how AI works, how technology works. It's like everybody should understand how technology works. That's why we actually formed a partnership with the Education Bureau in Hong Kong back over almost 20 years ago to help introduce technology into classroom. So we not just offer the software for school to use, but also offer training to anybody, to every students, and actually teaching staff as well to learn about the technology so they can pick up this what they call digital skill so that they will survive if when they graduate and look for work. I think this become very, very critical. So I think everybody should take on this what called digital skill. Whether it's the AI or big data, cloud, this kind of thing, it become I would say, a norm. I remember one of the universities in Hong Kong, they actually offer IT literacy as a program to all freshman students, first-year students. Everybody have to take that elective course, otherwise they will not go move to a year 2. So I think that's what students need to equip them with.
Okay. Thank you, Fred. Sean?
Accessibility and equity are a big concern of mine, absolutely, because we need to think about the environment that our students are in, the devices that they have access to. Just think about trying to use Microsoft Copilot on a phone, which some students, that's all they have. So in that sense, they might be at a disadvantage. So if we move towards empowering those who are AI literate and capable, those who don't have the access to these tools for various reasons, they might get left behind. And it's very complex, this question. It sounds like a simple question, but it's a very complex question because there are other issues. If we are teaching AI literacy in higher education, should we not begin earlier? And on top of that, if we're still an exam-oriented society where we're teaching to the test, DSE as an example, we might be killing creativity. And just like numeracy skills and English language learning skills, students don't care about it. And those who come from a family education where they do see the importance will thrive, whereas those who don't have the family education backing won't. So it's a very complex question in that sense. I do think, though, if you don't have these skills, yes, you will be left behind. And we need to think about how do we solve these more complex questions.
So what do you think, Janet? Healthcare students, do they have this have and have-not dilemma?
I think it's not only just for the students, but also for the teachers. I think it's not only just AI skill, but all different kinds of skills that we have to pick up. And even though we cannot really pick up, but we understand why and what are the applications. Otherwise, we are educators and we are trying to help our students to learn, which is basically they are the next generation. And the world in the next generation will probably be have a lot of AI. So if we are not start at this moment to teach or to let our students or facilitate the students to learn AI, it is actually our problem.
So after all, computer science is still important, Kevin.
Yes, actually, it is important. So hope I don't get fired soon. Actually, now it's a required skills to use AI in the IT industry. I think it's there to stay. So I think it's important that we prepare our students for it. We need to review our course, syllabus, curriculum level to see how we can actually integrate some of that in. And at the same time, not to put in too much pressure to our teachers and our students. So that's what universities can do. Now, on the corporate side, I see that a lot of traditional companies who work on traditional industry, they are actually feeling being left behind now. So they're actually hiring some companies, consultants to have corporate training for their staff to prepare for this wave. This wave is actually at the university level, at the corporate level as well. And we just have to catch up, otherwise we just get left behind.
Yeah, I just want to add one comment. And as a service provider or technology provider point of view, I think our role is democratizing this AI technology that everybody can easily use it. So you don't really have to have a supercomputer, a very powerful computer of CPU to access this technology. We actually offer this technology like embedded into our product that everybody use it, or actually offer this technology through our cloud service offering. So you don't really have to buy your own supercomputer to run your model, this kind of thing. I think that's what our role is, to lower the bar to access this technology so people in all walks could be able to access that. I think that's also very important.
Yeah. I have something to say to your point, but let's see if we have time about this have or have not from that point of view. But let me ask a follow-up question to Kevin first, and then maybe Janet can also talk about, you mentioned about curriculum level change. As you know, in our university, we are action-oriented. We like to take some actions now, and specifically, we would try to use some of our new programs to incorporate some new elements so that we will quickly enable our students to be relatively well-versed with the technology, so that by the time they graduate, they would be more competitive. They won't be left behind. Right? On the other hand, we also want to enable our existing students and existing courses to have some fine adjustment. But my question to you specifically is, what do you think from a curriculum level we can do, right, to change the training? Like, should we allocate more credits to a design thinking project, or should we do something more drastic instead of a conventional course by course structure?
Wow, that's a big question.
That's why you're here.
I don't think I'll be able to cover everything, but I think initially we'll have two entry points. The first entry point, which is more urgent, is assessments, which we are most concerned about. I think for assessments, there might be two directions, two approaches. One is to have more control over the assessment environment. For example, it's not open book. We need to time it, need to have more monitor, and students have to be assessed more frequently. So that's one way to do it. The other way is, I agree with Sean, more projects, more problem solving, more design thinking, that kind of project that we can integrate into the program. Now, as for the course and the curriculum, I think that for my programs, I think we need to integrate some of the modules that teach students how to use AI as a tool. And I think we're just starting to see which courses are more available or more feasible for that kind of change. For example, there might be courses on software engineering or software engineering management. And then we can teach students how to use it as a tool to develop the cycle of developing software and things like that. But I think it will take years to do the whole thing. Yeah, but I think assessment is more urgent at this moment.
Thank you, Kevin. Janet, any revamp of the curriculum?
I agree with Calvin. I think it is the time for us to think about the assessments. It's not only just exams, but also the assignments that we actually like testing or evaluating students' performance or learning. I think this is the time for us to do some kind of reflection. And for the curriculum design, for example, in our program, we are training nurses and physiotherapists. And we don't have any things that related to AI currently, like the AI literacy. Maybe, I haven't actually do any kinds of assessment, but maybe our AI literacy is not very high among our students. But whether we can actually incorporate or invite the other schools to help us to like have some kind of information about AI, I think that will be something that we need, in fact, especially when we are trying to prepare nurses in the future that will probably be able to like cater or work with AI. So I think this is important.
Okay, thank you. Sean, earlier you kind of alluded to the idea that training to the test is not conducive to develop this required literacy. And you also enlightened us about your design thinking. Can you go a little bit deeper about how we can incorporate these kind of elements into whatever discipline we have in the university?
Yeah, I agree. Assessments is probably one of the first areas we want to think about, and think about our assessment design and how it's more of an experiential, skills-based approach to measuring their learning outcomes. Perhaps we need to think completely out of the box. Maybe we need to think about not about Common Core programs and minors. Maybe we need to think about micro-credentials and courses and students able to determine their own pathway. So they can still have their traditional program where they have the required credits, but they're required to have these micro-credentials, micro-courses that they can choose that show evidence of AI literacies, competencies, future skill sets, both that are related to their discipline that they're studying, but outside. That's something that's probably a very wishful thinking, but I think maybe we need to start thinking a little bit more outside of the box. What we think of as a program, what is a program? Is that transcript in the program what employers want to see? Or do they want to see that students have these different skill sets, whether it's in that discipline domain, nursing, for example, computer engineering, but in addition to that knowledge domain, do they have the problem solving, the critical thinking, the ability to use digital technology to solve a problem? How can they show evidence of that? So I think it's more rethinking the program as well.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Fred, the co-pilot, the notion of co-pilot itself kind of imply that we have a pilot, right? And our job is to train the pilot, if I'm not mistaken. So being a service provider, how should we train the pilots to work with the co-pilots?
Yeah, I think the pilot need to know what the co-pilot does first, right? I think a lot of fundamental skill or basic skill that the pilot need to learn. I'll just say one example, AI. You will talk about a lot of AI application. You really want the student to understand what AI is. Professor McMinn talked about this micro-credential, micro-courses. From Microsoft point of view, we do offer a lot of this micro-credential, micro-courses online. So by the way, we do offer a program called AI 900, which is AI Fundamental, which come with a certification signed by our CEO, Satya. Just want to mention the certification normally students have to pay $99 to get. However, before June 30, we offer all students in Hong Kong free of charge. So just tell your student to make sure you do it before June 30 this year. We might extend that. It's really micro-credential, 6 courses, 6 modules if you like, and each one about half an hour. So learn for basic knowledge on AI, what machine learning is. We don't really have a generative AI module in there, but you have like neural network, how does the model thing work, and also talk about AI ethics as well. So take advantage of that. I think learn that first. As a pilot, you really need to understand what technology you're using, how to use the technology. So we're not really teaching people to develop a large language model. I'm not sure how many people would know that. But we need to teach people how to use this technology, use the technology in the right way, in a responsible manner. I think that's what technology provider as an educator need to do in this era.
Thank you, Fred. Let me ask a follow-up question about what you just mentioned, the AI ethics. So can you enlighten us about what AI ethics mean to us specifically or in general?
Yeah, thanks for giving me this question. As a matter of fact, about 2 years ago, I spoke on this topic in a lecture in MU. I think the lecture being broadcast on Sundays, especially this day. I don't know why you keep playing that. So people saw me on TV, hey, Fred, you can't wait. I think it's a huge, huge topic. It's not really a simple topic. I actually share what Microsoft been doing to practice this, what called AI principle, if you like. So principles around like biases, make sure your model is not biased, and your model need to inclusive cybersecurity, privacy, and who's responsible for that, and who's accountable for that. I think it's really a large topic. And since we actually introduced our first AI product in the market, we do have a what called best practice or governance model to make sure our offer, our technology, we introduce the market, that people understand how to use it. We make sure that this AI technology will impact people, not just delivering the project or developer, but also the user going to use it. And also the platform they deploy this AI technology will impact a lot. So people have to understand the risk element of that, the compliance requirement that, and how to mitigate that. So we actually talk about these 6 principles, and eventually, since 2017, and then eventually these 6 principles have been adopted by almost every government around the world, including Hong Kong, some of the regulatory organization issues in Hong Kong. So I'm happy to come back with this topic, but that will take another hour or something. So I think that's important. As a matter of fact, when we introduce this OpenAI or Copilot to the market, you look at our product announcement, like 20 to 30% of the contents actually talk about responsible AI. How we actually build this measure into our offering to ensure this a potential risk are mitigated. And all our customers, including, I hope MU use our technology, make sure you read this document. And there's a huge transparency note talk about how we actually mitigate all this technology, and we actually tell you not to use that technology if you want to apply that on certain situations as well. It's really, I would say, important. So don't implement any OpenAI service until you understand the impact and the risk associated with that. So this transparency notes, this policy, make sure you read it through and learn it through, and probably go to listen to my lecture again.
Sure, we will. Sean, you mentioned a little bit about the ethical side of things. You talk about misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, and also you kind of advise us that don't rely too much on turn-ins, false positives, and all that. So can you go a little bit deeper about this ethics issue related to teaching and learning?
Well, it's kind of building on what you're saying, really. You need to have an understanding of the tools, its content policy, understand where the data sets, what's in the data set, how it's been trained, understand the ethos of the company if you're going to use a company, whether it's OpenAI's or not. Because if your students are interacting with this software and it's generating content, it will hallucinate, it will generate misinformation, and students need to understand. So we have an ethical responsibility to make sure students are prepared and to be able to critically understand where that information is coming from. Look at Midjourney as another example. All my images were generated by Midjourney. Yeah, you can tell. It has a distinct style, and that's because its data set is very distinct. I didn't show it in this slide, but in another talk I gave, I had a picture, and my prompt was, imagine a professor having a knee-jerk reaction after discovering AI. And it gave me a series of images, and all the images were white, balding, male professors with glasses. So there's bias in the tool, so we just have to raise awareness of that. Yeah.
Thank you. Janet, what do you think about the AI ethics in your discipline?
I think this is really an important issue, especially I tried the ChatGPT, and I realized that the health information is quite superficial. In fact, nowadays, I think AI can learn, and eventually it may become like a doctor. So later on, we don't really need to visit any physicians, and it is 24 hours. It will eventually maybe in that stage. But currently, the problem is that because the information nowadays in AI, I don't think it is really in-depth. If the students is actually relying on those technology in answering questions or even give some kind of advice to our patients, it will be a problem. So I would say we really need to teach the students about the skills of critically appraise all the information. And so it is really important.
Okay, thank you. Kevin, from a computer scientist point of view, how should we teach our students about the ethical use of AI?
I think it's very important. I think very often we just focus on the hard skills of using AI, but I think the ethical issues, the legal issues are just as important. I think some of our students are already using ChatGPT to generate reports. I gave them a question, it's due in 2 weeks, and right there on the spot, the student told me, I done it, thanks to ChatGPT. From my point of view, I think it's very important that very often people would have a specific course on ethics, I think, but the concept of ethics and responsible use of AI should be integrated into the different courses at different levels, kind of let it seep in like that. And I think that's the only way that we can convey that message to the students.
Can I just follow up on two additional examples when we're looking at the content? Going back to ChatGPT 4, a colleague in our center, they're doing a critical discourse analysis of ChatGPT and the results that it's giving for pedagogical reasons if we want to teach. And they're asking very simple questions. Identify the most influential people in writing, the most influential people in art, and then the most influential pirate. It sounds like a strange question. Now, when it generates the results, it hedges its language, and it says, oh, it might be these people, it could be these, depending on your context. But it still, again, only identifies mostly male, mostly Western. And its language is biased in a sense in how it's generating its results. Pirates, I didn't know this through this project. The most influential, the largest well-known pirate is actually Chinese, a Chinese pirate, but it didn't identify any of it. They're all Western pirates. So that's one example. Another example is if we look at CEOs and generating reports to their shareholders. We're doing an experiment where we upload income statements and we say generate a report to your shareholders. It gets all the meta language right, but it's meta language that you would see from Western CEOs, not from Asian companies. So we have to be aware of this bias that's embedded into the system.
Thank you, Sean. It's very important insights about that. But that brings me to the first more audacious question. I have two. The second one is speaking to Fred's earlier remarks. Actually, it's a continuation of our earlier conversation, Sean. Because I kind of envision that when ChatGPT or generative AI proliferates, right, as we use Microsoft services, amongst others, then we might see a situation whereby students are working for a long time with the AI. Right? And chances are some of these AI will manifest themselves as tutors or even teachers, right? Or even peers. Right? And what I'm worrying about is then we will have a situation where learning is decoupled from teaching, if you know what I mean. Right? Like teaching in the sense of teacher teaching the students. The students learn by themselves through interacting with the AI. Right? The echo chamber kind of situation, addicted to talking with the AI instead of talking with human beings, is not unthinkable in my opinion. So how should we get prepared for this, Sean? Let's continue our conversation.
Okay, sure. I think we need to be mindful of this decoupling, as you put it, because it could reinforce bad learning behaviors. If the student's relying on ChatGPT and they don't really know what is involved in learning it, and they only know what they know. So when they ask it questions, it's based on their prior knowledge, and quite often their prior knowledge might be incorrect. So we need to be aware of that. So you always need this teacher in the loop. But I still think that we could make use of it for self-regulated learning, independent learning activities, under the guidance of the teacher. But for self-regulated learning is very important as well, because the student needs to go off on their own and think about things and reflect and that sort of thing. So I think to avoid the decoupling, the issues, the problems that you might have with the decoupling, we can have the teacher to intervene. But I think we should also encourage some use of it as a tutor in that sense.
So Kevin, what do you think? Students get addicted to AI just like addicted to video games.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, video games, yeah. Not so much now. Nah. But I think there is an opportunity. As Sean said, now we have AI. It helps us actually reduce our workload in repetitive stuff. It helps the students, it helps us, so that now we are actually free from those tasks. And then in this free time, we can focus on activities that can engage students in more real-world activities. Instead of spending time online or in the classroom, now we have more resources to take them out to look at how the real-world problems are being solved. So I see it as an opportunity that way because we can work more efficiently.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure whether this kind of addiction will be eventually like a disease. many years later. But I would say it is a kind of opportunities, especially for some of the students. Maybe they learn better if they are actually communicated with AI. And when I used ChatGPT as a work buddy, I would say the AI is actually quite friendly. It actually responds to my question. It's very, very polite. Personally, I also learn from the answers. So I don't know whether it is actually a very good opportunity, especially for some of the students or some of the patients that may not like to interact with people. And so maybe this is an opportunity to help them in terms of like some of the therapy or some of the treatment at the end.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just reinforce. I mean, I know PolyU, and I can't remember who's doing this, but out of PolyU, they're looking at AI and robotics for students who might be autistic and normally aren't comfortable in talking to humans to learn a language. So in this sense, it's a very useful tool.
Yeah, I just want to add and clarify a few concepts. I think this session, this summit is about ChatGPT, right? So I think, say, ChatGPT, everybody refer to this ChatGPT service that people try to use it, play around with that. I think that and another, what Microsoft offers ChatGPT, what it calls an enterprise class or enterprise grade GPT service. So GPT is not really just an app that you actually talk to them, but what we offer is the API services. So what it means is you have exactly the same ChatGPT environment behind the model to support all the conversation experience. However, as a service provider or user or developer can actually wrap your front-end application using this API service through Microsoft cloud services. And because the web around that, you can build a lot of control. Control means what? For example, you want to limit your students use how many chats per day, and after like 20 chats a day, you have to go to talk to your professor. You can actually do this kind of thing. You can also do content filtering. If they want to answer some questions not really related to your subject, no, and you can respond politely or really roughly. It's how you actually design your prompt. The prompt actually dictates the response of your bot, your ChatGPT. That's possible through this what called API service. My colleague actually Mike will talk about that, how to actually develop an app for the university to use for teaching and learning. It's not really just use the tools freely, but you let the students and teaching staff to use it in a controlled manner. So whatever control manner align with your policy, your ChatGPT use policy, I think it's the opportunities to reach a lot there.
Okay, thank you. Fred, actually your insights is a very, very nice segue to my second audacious question and my final question for you, and I will open up for the audience. And the question actually has a little bit of longer background for me to ask. Is actually related to what we discussed earlier about the have and have not. Just now you talk about we can use the APIs to wrap around and to develop whatever control learning experience for our students. But that's exactly the point, right? Because that's also kind of a decoupling, in my opinion. Decoupling of contents from the institutions. So because in a sense, contents are all in the model, in Microsoft. Let me put it this way. And what if someday we don't have access to Microsoft? Then we are stuck, right? Right? So that's the decoupling that I'm trying to get to. So I'm not sure how we should be prepared for this kind of situation, because that's the kind of discussion we had a few years back when we talked about MOOCs. Yeah. Remember that? Right? When we have MOOCs, people would say, oh, my jobs will be gone because we just need to watch the Harvard professors' MOOCs instead of having a teacher here. That didn't happen. Right? But this time, it might be different. So, Sean, what's your take about this decoupling of contents?
Yeah, that's a worry. I mean, getting locked into any one source of information can be problematic, and I think we have to be very careful about that. I speak very enthusiastically about Microsoft Copilot because I do see the capabilities and what it can bring. And right now, it's the only tool that seems to be doing that. But thinking back to learning management systems even, being locked into Canvas or Blackboard or whatever limits how you teach, limits the student's learning experience. So we have to be very careful about locking in. You're calling it decoupling from the content. I'm thinking of it as being locked into the method and the technology.
You lose control of the content. That's what I mean by decoupling.
Yeah. So when you're locked in with one company, you're losing control, flexibility of content. That's definitely a worry, and I think universities need to think carefully about their strategy in teaching and learning when they're choosing. And that's why I think we should focus on practice and not tool. So when I was talking about AI readiness, it's more about being able to choose which tools are appropriate and what not for teaching and learning purposes. If we focus on the tool, that decoupling will happen, definitely, and it won't be a good thing, I think.
So what do you think, Kevin?
Well, from a computer system point of view, we try to have more redundancy. I'm not implying anything, but for example, let's say our system can subscribe to different companies' products, more diverse. I think that's one way to look at it. But I think eventually, because this is quite new right now, so maybe there are only several key companies working on it. But I foresee that as the whole thing develops, that a lot more companies will jump in. And eventually, a part of it will be more open sourced and more accessible. And I think at that point, it will smooth out the problem.
Janet, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Kelvin. And in fact, not only just AI technology, but other skills as well. So if we don't afraid of new things, we have to trying to touch on that. Just like all the audience here, they join this section because they find this is interesting and they would like to learn something about that. I think we have to start by today.
So Fred, sorry, I don't mean to put you under the spotlight, but you have to understand the user's point of view, right?
Yeah, I won't comment on the competition or this kind of thing, but I think as any customer or user of technology, you have to really work with a vendor which you trust, right? So I'm sure Microsoft technology or our product and office trusted by almost every, like a large or small enterprise around the world, like a Fortune 500 company, like 99% of people, SMB actually use our product. So it's trusted by our technology. And also, I think the most importantly is like when using this like AI technology, a lot of data actually flowing around. How we actually use your data, that's important. If the vendor do not have I would say, policy or agreement, if you like, to how to protect your own data. We're not going to use our data to fine-tune our model, or not use our data to share with the world as a whole. So I think these are all the commitment a large organization like Microsoft will be able to commit, not the smaller one. I think that's where you need to really pay attention to it. Another point I want to add is like because of that, we really support open source. By the way, we actually acquire GitHub. So, and GitHub is the largest open source I would say modules there in the repository. The last time I checked, the OpenAI, the ChatGPT type like a repository. If you want to deploy something for your university, probably find something there already. So just go there and download and use it free of charge. I think that's really how we support, I would say, open source, and how you, as a customer, when you choose a vendor or partner, you have to look at their credential, especially how they actually protect the data that you actually fit into our model. Yeah.
I'm sure Microsoft is a very trustworthy partner. So, questions from the floor for our panel members. You can ask your question to a specific member or a general question. Feel free, please.
I just want to share a viewpoint. Ricky mentioned about the coupling of the teachers and the learner. Yes, I think for some duties that may be replaced by the AI or robot. But I think the teachers still have a very important role, in particular for the values. Students learn from the teachers, their gesture, attitude, their insight, and everything. And also the charisma, like you. So,
I'm generated by deepfake, by the way.
So I think it reflects that when we face AI teaching, at the same time it highlights the importance of value education. So I propose, if possible, I know some universities have already have a course like ethics in an AI world. So I think we should think in this direction. On the one hand, we embrace AI and robots in our teaching. On the other hand, we should strengthen and highlight the importance of value education. That is still, I don't want to decouple the student and the teachers. That is just a general view. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
I think you just self-nominated yourself to work out this.
Yeah, I just want to create some work that will not be replaced by the AI. So thank you, Ricky, and all the speakers. Thank you.
Any responses to that remarks?
Totally.
Yeah. Any other questions for our distinguished panel members here? Feel free. Take advantage of their presence here. Yes, we have a question there. Yeah.
As teacher of this generation, how could we equip ourselves to enable our students to use AI? Thank you.
There's a classical train-the-trainer question. Son.
Yeah. I can't speak for MU because I actually don't know. But I am in conversation with a lot of the UGC-funded universities. And each one's handling it differently. You're right. Training the teacher is a big, important task. We need to make sure faculty members are ready. I can speak at HKUST. We have been running seminars similar to this. And workshops. We're also putting together online self-paced micro-credentials for faculty members to take, ranging from basic AI literacy to assessment design to curriculum design. I mean, these are all coming in the future, but we're in the process of developing these because we recognize that this is important, that faculty members need to be equipped for this. They need the support. I think universities are setting up task force. Each university has done it differently. And the task force include faculty members across schools, but also students, because we need a student voice involved as well. And all of this is part of determining what we need to train teachers. And so that's generally my answer. Yeah.
Fred, please.
Back to my micro-credential offer. That's also offered to teaching staff as well. So take advantage of all this online material offered from either Microsoft or other vendor. They do have a lot of good information there. We also offer a program called AI Business School. I'm not sure we have an education industry module, but check it out. AI Business School is like 5 to 6 modules, and one of them is responsible AI, but the other ones are how you actually set up a culture, how to actually start your system, governance, all that kind of thing. It's very, very useful. It's all available online. Go check it out. The AI 900, AI Fundamental, I think teachers, please go ahead and take it.
Sure. So, Dean, Janet Wong, any quick plan, train the trainers?
So first of all, I think we have to learn. I think educators, we always need to learn. And I still remember my mentor or some of my teachers, when they taught some kind of knowledge to me, most importantly, they are focusing on teaching me how to learn. So I think it is also the time for us as educators to really think about whether we are instilling just only the knowledge to our students, or we should also embed some of the ways to learn, because our students are going to as I said, it will be in the next generation. And there can be something that we haven't actually learned, and we never be able to touch on that kind of knowledge. So the ways to learn are something that we, the educators, need to teach our students. And for us, we also need to be very open-minded and trying to learn new things.
Sure, definitely. I think ALTO will offer some workshops real soon. And so don't worry, we will help. Yes, Diane?
Scientists are very creative, and they create a lot of things. Those kind of things would help us to improve our lives and ways of doing things, including the creations of ChatGPT 4. Would there be an occasion that they may worry about things that might go the way that may be out of control? Or can they, or do they, worry about things might have gone overboard, and that may be beyond their imagination? And what kind of things would those be?
Okay, so I asked the computer scientist first. AI becomes out of control.
Oh, we all watch Terminator, the Skynet. I don't think we are there yet. We are not that advanced yet. I hope that within our lifetime we don't have to see that threat yet, but I think at some point it will be there. Okay, eventually, it's just a matter of time. But how we prepare for it in terms of ethics, policies, guidelines, and how we actually integrate that into our societal systems, I think that's a key thing.
Yeah, Fred, can you share with us the timeline for developing consciousness in AI?
No, I'm not a scientist myself, but my comment is like, I think the technology will move as quickly as like last few years when we got to a point we call like emergent ability. You just cannot predict something that can go that quick. It probably go quicker. I think what we really need to do is like just like a gun or weapon could be do harm to people, but also could be to help people. So really, I think we can encourage some government policy or even AI legislation. We need this kind of thing. And I think it's really slow. It's not quick enough. With that, I think as a developer or scientist to develop AI technology or model, will be more comfortable that they know what they're working within, I would say, the regulation. I think this thing is not quite here yet. I think as our role, we really like to discuss this topic with regulators or educators, ensure this regulation will come along. Without that, I think it might go out of control. That's more my point to take.
Okay, with that, let's give a big hand to our panel members. Thank you very much, and thank you all for attending this session. Thank you very much.